And I definitely won't be confessing that now that this is recorded. So thank you guys for joining me. Welcome to Muddafork episode number 9 of season 1. So I have 3 very distinguished, lovely guests with me today: Lori, Kristy, and Rissie. Do I say it with like a little French twang to it, Rissie?
I mean, you could, every time you say it, you could do this. You can say it, Rissie.
All right, got you. So I don't know if you guys want to just in a sentence or two say what you do to give some context. We'll be talking about domestic tourism, and these 3 ladies have a lot to do with domestic tourism. So should the ringleader start? I call Rissie the ringleader. Sorry, Rissie. I call her the ringleader.
I don't even know how I got dubbed this title, but okay. I really think the ringleader is L'Oreal.
Oh no.
Whatever. I'm, like you said, I'm Rissie. I work in the Ministry of Tourism, and I'm the Senior Manager of Domestic Communications.
Good. Who's next?
Okay, I'll go. So my name is L'Oreal, and I work for a private marketing firm that concentrates on hospitality and tourism for the Family Islands only.
Okay, those are very emphatic only. I'll come back to that later. And we're saving the best for last.
No. All right, guys. Hi, I'm Kristy Morris, and I'm working at the Bahamas Ministry of Tourism in the digital media department. So we handle everything related to all of our websites: Bahamas.com, tourismtoday.com, BahamasGeoTourism.com. It goes on. There's so many. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right, cool. So how have things been? I guess you can, answer in turn however you feel. How have things been since COVID? I mean, what you guys been keeping busy?
I'll start. We've been keeping ourselves very busy at the Ministry of Tourism. I mean, we got to get ready for when everything comes back to what we call a new normal. And so we're just in those preparation stages of getting that done.
What does preparation involve? I mean, what are you doing in preparing for this new normal?
Well, some things I can't disclose at this time, but we have been working on a lot of marketing plans and really getting a lot more Bahamians involved with telling the story of their own country. So that's something that we're very heavily involved in right now. As a matter of fact, Kristy and I are working on a project involving that.
Mm-hmm. And I would just like to add to that, in terms of what's happening right now, apart from the marketing plans that Rissie mentioned, it's so important throughout the whole pandemic or any crisis really to post consistent updates on all of our online platforms on our website. So that's what we've been doing. Anytime there's a change in the emergency powers or anything like that, we have to post consistent updates to our site for all the press releases, and in addition to the storms that we recently had. So constant press releases and information is very important. So we've been really busy with that over the past couple of months.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead. For me, it's been kind of a ping pong because the Family Islands were still receiving boating and private pilots throughout the entire time. So anytime there was a change in emergency orders, we kind of had to regroup and reset. So every few days, it was like a new marketing strategy on the outside of dealing with about 40 different hotels, trying to figure out when they'll be getting guests again. So it's been a busy few months, oddly.
I don't envy either of you. And has the emergency regulations that allowed for private boats and planes, has that traffic been enough to sort of sustain some of the resorts in the islands, or has it not nearly been enough?
It's not enough considering what it used to be, but the trickle in has been helping some properties that are pretty much historically boating friendly. So, some places in Sansal, Abaco, Green Turtle Key was still getting some trickle in. So it really depends on which island, but it's enough given what we have right now. We're thankful for that business, but it could be very much more.
And are you guys kind of anticipating a domestic travel spike? I mean, what I mean by that is Bahamians obviously won't be able to go anywhere or not go anywhere that we won't be subjected to really long quarantine periods. I know what y'all, I ain't staying in no government facility in a foreign country, so ain't nothing happening. Are you sort of expecting a massive exodus to the islands, if I can coin that phrase?
I think we're all really hoping that that's the case.
Yeah.
Why hoping and not anticipating?
Well, because domestic travel isn't very, now correct me if I'm wrong, L'Oreal, but I find that more people tend to go to the States before they go to a family island.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is very true. What we did see though was in July there was a massive spike. You know, each year we do a push for domestic tourism in June, and we actually saw that, you know, people were really going. I mean, every weekend. I had a few hotels that were completely sold out. It was unprecedented. But for right now, there is a 2-week mandatory quarantine for people going to the islands. So if that wasn't there, I believe that we would get a little bit of a spike. But I don't foresee a Bahamian saying, hey, let me go to Cat Island for 14 days.
Right.
And staying inside the entire time. So, like they said,
you'd have to basically stay for more than 2 weeks. And I mean, we'll come back to the expense involved in doing that later, but that's pointless at this point.
Yeah.
And I think too, especially how the beaches have been closed for a while too, Bahamians are dying to get back out there and just experience the natural beauty of the Bahamas. So, you know, I guess it's a chance for us to really position it in their minds as to make them really fall in love with home again. You know, in terms of whatever campaigns that we do, we have to really make that the forefront of it too. You know,
I'm with that. I think a cool campaign, if you can have this suggestion for free. You should just post pictures of the nicest beaches and then remember when you couldn't go here, and just put those ads all around now. So you'll be fine.
I'm not mad at it. That's
right.
Cool.
So how do you find balancing? I guess from the marketing standpoint, how do you find balancing giving attention to all of the islands? Because I mean, we obviously have many islands that people travel to. Hardly anybody goes to Mayagüana. Everybody goes to Exuma. So how do you sort of manage that on a day-to-day?
Who wants to take that one on?
I'll take a portion of that on. So, you mentioned Mayagüana. So we do have 16 islands for tourism, right? I have maybe about 11 or 12 of those islands where I have a hotel. So that makes it a little easier for me. So I have to concentrate on islands where I do have a hotel and can drive traffic to particular properties or everything. But we do try. It's hard, but we do try, and we kind of have to segment it sometimes depending on the audience. For instance, we have some direct flight islands, so that would be your Bimini, Berry Island, Abaco, Eleuthera, Exuma, and Andros a little bit now, that has direct access either by like a major airline or by one of the smaller airlines that take off from FBOs in Florida. But it really depends on who you're talking to. That's the most important, because if you really just lay down 16 islands of information, I guarantee the person is going to go.
Over.
So it really depends.
And to piggyback on that, like it is about, for us now, really digging into these family islands and finding what's unique to each of them.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the times they all can offer you pretty much the same thing. But that's where the balance comes in, finding and really digging into what makes Ragged Island different from Mayagüana, different from the Berry Islands, different from Nassau, different from Freeport, you know?
Which is a task.
And it's like you really just have to dig in deeper, like exactly what they said, you know, like find at least one top key thing that comes to mind right away. So you think of Cat Island, like what comes to mind, you know, Exuma, Andros, like you have to find those unique selling points and really position it properly. Yeah.
Got you. And so how do you go about identifying those unique selling points? Like, do you guys all just sort of travel in rotation and visit the islands and say, all right, I'm going to jump in this blue hole. If I don't die, I'll tell someone to go do it?
I know we try. I know that I've been trying to get to as much islands as I can. It's very busy. It's very hard for me. I'm you know, I have to be to the desk and also manage a department. But I recently went to Andros, right? And they made me dive. It wasn't my first time in Andros, but I went there with a Ministry of Tourism rep who was kind of like in the same age range as me. And, you know, we kind of spoke the same language. And so he was just like, and big up to Tehran. Just like, yeah. And Tehran was like, oh my gosh, you got to go jump in this blue hole. And I said, what? And then, and the thing that trips me out about the blue hole is like, I have to work very hard to float, right? So the salty there. They're like, oh, it was a workout. But like, I find that when you have people that are like Tehran and they're stationed in different parts on each of those islands, like that helps to really identify those unique experiences because they're out there all the time and they're exploring themselves and they're passing on that information to people like me. I would have never jumped into no blue hole now if it wasn't for Tehran.
So that's where the people come in then, I think, because the people on those islands would tell unique stories. And I mean, think of Lady Di and Eleuthera with the pineapples. So you have to find those kind of individuals and talk to them and just get some kind of information out. And then you create a story that is unique. You know, you can only get, I think she makes pineapple pepper sauce or something like that. And there's no other place you can go to get that other than in Eleuthera from Lady Di. So you have to kind of use the people to kind of, you know.
Big up to Lady Di, baby. That is the fire right there. That is the fire. So how many islands have you each been to?
Oh, it's a hard question. Boy.
Wow, that's crazy.
I have to think about that.
I think I've been to like 8.
8? Okay. That's decent.
I think it's about 6 for me.
9. I know, Andrew. 9.
Stop. I feel like it's maybe about 12.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's really good.
Amazing.
Decent.
Down south is really hard. The flights aren't consistent.
Right.
Yeah, there's that. Accessibility has been the biggest drawback for me in terms of visiting the Southern Bahamas. Like I've been to Sinsal. I love Sinsal.
Isn't that so beautiful? Wow.
Yes.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, Bahamians, we will argue, you know, tooth and nail about who has the prettiest water. Quite frankly, I don't give a shit. All the islands are different in their own way. But Sinsal has this really, when you're on approach and coming in from on the plane, you watch this like that dark blue turn into green, and then it's like
glowing
little specks of blue all over the place. And I don't know. It's like a beach Dalmatian or an ocean Dalmatian. It's just like I'm in Sinsal when I see those little pockets around the place. But with that in mind, I mean, I suppose the accessibility or lack thereof in the Southern Islands is probably because not many people visit there, or there's not like much activity there, or is it for some other reason? Do you think?
Well, there are a few reasons. For us, we did a survey to maybe about 2,000 U.S. Former consumers that have been to the Family Islands. The issue is still educating people about the Family Islands. So you have some islands that are off the top very popular, and they typically are direct access islands. A lot of people know about Abaco. Zuma is where you put me, because, you know, everyone's still obsessed with the swimming pigs, you know. For the heavy divers, and there's still a big pull. But when you start mentioning Ragged Island, Mayaguana, Inagua, people have no idea. So a part of it, I believe, is that there's still more educating that needs to be done there. And by extension, if people don't know about it, the demand isn't there. Right. So that's how it's all connected. But, you know, we try. We try to get them in. We try.
Yeah, it's a mammoth task. It really is. It really is. And like, kudos to everybody involved in the tourism industry, because from the outside in, I think it's very easy to say, well, oh, you could do this. If y'all did this and y'all could do that and y'all could do that. And I'm like, all right, well, a lot of us are not. What you're saying is not like, you're not inventing the wheel. You know what I mean? This is stuff that we probably thought about as well. And sometimes it's just not effective. But it's still a learning curve. We're still learning, and we're all still trying.
Yeah, and I also think too, to tie into what L'Oreal and Rissie are saying, from a domestic standpoint, especially, I think the high cost of domestic travel airfare, especially throughout the islands, is a main setback, I think, too. But I mean, these things are kind of, it's hard to really navigate away from that, because I mean, you look at fuel costs and taxes and fees, and I mean, most of the trips from Nassau to Andros, for example, I mean, it's a short flight, but most of the airline costs are fixed. So it's kind of hard really to navigate away from it anyway. So, I mean, the cost of fuel is probably not going to change significantly, even if you have a short flight. So it's hard for airlines to do that. So I think the cost is a major factor as well that plays into it.
All right, I got to get somebody from the Ministry of Finance in here so we can talk about why the cost of fuel is so high and how to fix that. That one isn't for y'all. I'm just saying, I want to go to Mayagüana, but I don't want to stay there for 5 days. I kind of want to be able to fly there on Friday morning and come back on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is tourism products a correct term to use?
Tourism products.
Okay. So is the marketing of our tourism product, this is going to be one of those questions that you may not want to answer, so I'm trying to phrase it delicately.
All right. All right.
How do you deal with the criticism that there are no Black faces represented in tourism advertisements?
I think, honestly, Nick, me and Kristy, and probably L'Oreal as well, couldn't wait for you to ask this. All right.
Well, let the chopper sing. Talk to me.
Okay, so I and from my perspective, this is a conversation that's been had for many years. We're going to continue to have the conversation, and I think at this point, what we're doing from the ministry side is to really push harder to make, to increase representation. I mean, we've started doing it, and maybe we're just not seeing it enough home, but when we market outside, that representation is there. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's something we need to work on.
What does that include? The last time I was in the States, I don't want to say where I was, but the last time I was in the States, I saw a Bahamas ad. Where was this?
What year was it?
Yes, please say the year, because that's
what year was it?
You just said
the year. That was this year.
That was when?
That was this year. Pre-pandemic. Yeah, pre-pandemic.
Okay.
Right.
And there was an image of somebody swimming in what was, to my eyes, looked to be Exuma somewhere, just because of the sort of keys in the background, but I guess it could have been anywhere. And in this flipper was a Caucasian leg. I mean, I'm not hating, but
are you sure that was tourism?
Where's Waldo? Where's the colors, fam?
Yeah. No.
Well, see, here's the thing.
Listen, it's not going to change overnight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not a quick fix.
Progress.
It's something that, we're working on. You have all these young, innovative people that are now having a seat at the table and understand that representation is important, so the conversation is being had. You won't see it right away, but you will see it. It's already there, actually.
Much better than it used to be. Much better.
I mean, yeah,
I agree.
It might be more present than it used to be, but now you've got me curious as to why it's been a discussion for so long and the action plan came later. I mean, or the action came later. What is it that is just what makes the Bahamas more appealing from an outside perspective? Is it that Europeans want to see Europeans doing European things in a foreign country? I mean, what's the driving factor behind that?
That's a great question. I feel like at the time, this was the marketing model that worked. This was the strategy that worked. And so if it ain't broke, why fix it? But now everybody recognizes that it's broken. And so it's being fixed.
Yeah. And especially with recent events, especially in the US and all that now too, we have to adapt to the changing environment. And like Rissie said, that worked back then, but now things are starting to evolve. So we are adapting to what's currently going on to be more suitable to our market now.
Staying on the cutting edge.
Exactly. That's what it's about.
I can see you were really expecting that question.
Right. Like we doing it. We working on it. It's happening.
So,
I'm sure once the country starts to open up and our marketing and PR machine begins moving again, turning again, you'll see something new. You'll see something different. It won't be the same look and feel.
I'm going to hold you to that as a foreshadowing of great things to come.
Whew. Okay.
But that's right.
Was that a little heavy? My bad.
It's just like, okay, sure.
Well, with that in mind, I guess, does anything that's going to happen in the future involve, if this is something you can answer, this might be, confidential, I don't know, but is that going to involve engaging more of us to promote us?
That's already happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To
yes, to answer your question, in the future, yes. Like right now, like I had mentioned earlier, Kristy and I are working on a project that's from beginning to end, just us promoting us. We have other campaigns where we have gone away from using the typical influencer. I shouldn't have done that.
It's okay.
We're using influencers now that may not be necessarily the most popular people, but who they're talking to and what they're saying is impactful. And those are our people. That's Bahamians. We even have our entire blog is our Bahamas.com blog. Every story on there is written by a Bahamian. All the authors are Bahamian. So it's already being done. We've already started.
That's something that's already in motion. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any interesting? Sorry, go ahead, Kristy.
No, I was just going to say, and if there are any other Bahamian entrepreneurs out there who want to get involved in the tourism industry, we welcome that interest. And if you also want to get listed on Bahamas.com, you can definitely contact us, and we will walk you through the process of doing so. So because we want to, have as much visibility all of the local entrepreneurs as possible. So therefore there's economic benefits throughout the country, from that.
Hit us up. It's working.
Yeah.
That works. I'm happy to hear that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any fun stories from the islands? Do you have a highlight reel sort of? Give it. I kind of want each of you to drop your favorite moment on a family island.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Rissie brought up Andres, right? And I am in love with Andres. And my favorite story there is maybe about 2 years ago, I got certified. So I'm a PADI diver.
Wow.
Nice. There you go.
It was kind of scary at first, but we did that, okay? And on my second dive, I ended up going to the cliff that is by the tongue of the ocean. So if you don't know the tongue of the ocean, it's this really deep with about 3,000 feet canyon underneath. And we were about 100 feet down. And I was like, yo, I feel like the Little Mermaid. And I like this feeling. And my instructor was like, hey, let's go hover over the canyon. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And although I was super scared, it was the most beautiful experience after. And then he taught me how to do a backflip underwater with all my gear. So hands down, best family island experience to date.
So you're just casually using the tongue of the ocean where they run like submarines in the deep water trench with the biggest sharks all around, and you just do it underwater.
I did that. Actually, my first dive was a shark dive, and I didn't know. So, I was underwater, and I think there were reef sharks came up, and I was like, oh, this isn't scary. I'm a G, though. I'm a G.
You are, girl. I'm afraid of sharks. I'm afraid of them. I'm scared. You are a G. I'm so proud of you.
Huge respect for that, L'Oreal.
Come on, adventure time. You should do it.
Adventure time, man. I don't think these two bought her that.
Okay, so I tried to go diving with the gear. That's the PADI diving. Okay. In Andres. It didn't work out because my flipper kept coming up and I felt like I was going to flip over, and I could only really put my head down. They were like, oh, when you get down to the bottom or something, don't forget to breathe. So the first thing I did was stop breathing. I panicked immediately. All the signs you're supposed to do. I was like,
wow.
I know.
Wow.
People just aren't made to be underwater.
Wow.
What's you guys island highlight reel?
Island highlight?
Yeah.
And by highlight, you mean something that we really like to do on each island?
Yeah, Lori decided she was going to go explore the tongue of the ocean, trying to be Jacques Cousteau. You know, what's your favorite island adventure? Best one.
That's a tough one. There's so many, honestly.
Yes.
I mean, I really just I did the swimming pigs last year in Exuma, and I really loved it. I did it with Powerboat Adventures, and that was amazing. I mean, something I think just being on the speedboat out there in the water was really just so nice. You know, you can just escape from reality. It was amazing. And I really like Abaco, Harbor Island, just being able to just get a bicycle and just ride through the town there. I mean, I just love stuff like that. But there's so many things to do on each of those islands, though. It's hard to pick.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm obviously the scariest one out of all of us. So,
Never
you know,
would have guessed.
I do it, but for me, what I enjoyed the most was walking to that spot where they shot Naked and Afraid and Andres.
Oh, wow.
That little adventure, that was
It's a trek.
outside of jumping into the blue hole and trying to launch myself back onto the little landing thing to get up. But going through there and being like, oh, okay, this is where they were. This is cool. I wouldn't do this naked, but
No.
cool.
Fair. I think for me, I really enjoy jumping into Dean's Blue Hole in Long Island. I'm
amazing.
Yeah, listen, I will, if I'm walking through the bush someplace, I really enjoy nature. So if I go to someplace like Andres, I gain in the Pine Barrens. One cutlass, 2 bottles of water, and I move it through. If I find a random blue hole, I am going for a dip. Like, there's something about blue holes that just makes you want to jump into them. At least it makes me want to jump into them. So I enjoyed that. That cliff in Long Island, I tell people that is not terrifying, but if you have even the remotest fear of heights, you will freak out. It's like you look down and you can't see the rocks because the cave is sort of concave. And then when you jump, you see the rocks coming up, and then you forget that you're actually going to land in the water for a split second. And so panic ensues, and then you're like, well, there's nothing I can do now. Just go for it.
Actually,
so with Abaco, sorry, you saying something, Laura?
I was saying that I wanted to do a bucket list of just different blue holes on the islands, because they're really fun to jump in too. You're right.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I have a list already of like 7 that I've been in that I really want to add to, but I want to find some like outrageous ones that are sort of in like a cave, and then you go in the cave and jump in the blue holes kind of. But I'll get there. So with Abaco still being rebuilt following Hurricane Dorian, that was a big tourist destination. I don't know how many tourists went to Freeport, if I'm being honest with you, or to Grand Bahama in general. But where are people going now? Is it just Exuma where people seem to be going, swimming pigs, sort of ordinary things? Or are people kind of going elsewhere because the main places are inaccessible?
Well,
don't all answer at once.
that, the people who consistently went to Abaco are still people who have already been to Abaco. They have their, like Green Turtle Key, for instance, they have their very loyal customers that will come back.
Right.
So people were already booking Abaco, and in the south of Abaco, there are a few hotels that, because of how Dorian hit the island, that they were still receiving guests as well as trickle in. But I find people are still going to Abaco. Now, if they're not going to Abaco, they might have actually tried Exuma, but I find their bookings, when people were allowed to come in, there were bookings for Abaco, so it's still
right.
But
I find that the Family Islands have a lot of loyalty guests, visitors. So if this is the island that they love, that's where they're going. And it doesn't even matter what capacity they're going in, whether they're going in for a vacation or because of what happened during Dorian, they're coming in to volunteer, but they are still going. The travel hasn't stopped with that.
And what I like about that too is that some of them, they stay for an extended period. So I know in San Salvador, for example, it's really popular among some European travelers who come, and they would stay for like 2 weeks or so. And then, I mean, that benefits the local economy so much more than a visitor who comes for just a short time. So looking at the length of stay is interesting too. Absolutely.
San Sal is one of those islands that has a direct flight from somewhere in Europe, right?
Yes,
like France,
France, Air Caribbean. Yeah, because they also have Club Med there, which is
that's where I stayed when I went.
That's where you stayed. Okay, nice. Yeah, so a lot of Europeans go there, direct flight from France, and also from Montreal too. They have a direct flight from Canada and Montreal that goes down.
It's like a
French
vacation spot.
San Sal is just beautiful. I mean, I went there for the first time last year, and I've been trying to get back there ever since. Yeah. It is beautiful.
It really is. I mean,
my fave.
The only thing I don't like about San Sal is the mosquitoes unruly. I know the mosquitoes are bad.
Okay.
They will pick you up and slap you. Like,
yeah.
And off is not a thing. It just, at one point, I just gave up and I just put on long sleeve everything. It was really hot in midsummer.
You need to get the candles and light them, and and some of the hotel properties would have them, little candles that you can light.
My problem is I like to move around too much and be outside, so that the candle thing will never work.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you can just melt like the candle wax and put it on you.
This is taking a turn.
Just,
Come.
Reinvent yourself, be innovative.
Walk around with flaking citronella candle wax. Break it off.
Yeah, but you ain't getting bite, right? You ain't getting bite.
Balance.
Oh no,
Thank
man.
you.
I'm trying to decide whether to ask something tricky or keep it on the level right now.
I wonder what that is.
What do you think it is? You sound like you're expecting something else.
I'm expecting anything, so just go right ahead.
No, it's nothing bad. I actually want to talk a bit about regattas and homecomings and things like that. Who's primarily responsible for sort of marketing those? Is it the associations on the islands, or is that something that you guys assist with in any way? Because I've always wondered why more Bahamians don't go to regattas and homecomings. Aside from the cost factor, I find that a lot of people just tend not to know when they are. Like, they'll know when the big one is in Exuma, or everybody knows Long Island Regatta is Labor Day weekend. And I think Bryland's, obviously I got Lil Junglist in me. Bryland is the last one in October. But I mean, is there a way rather we can get more Nasuvians to start going to regattas and homecomings?
I think it's crazy that you're saying that a lot of Nasuvians don't go to regatta, because Harbor Island Regatta, they was coming by the boatload. But in terms of marketing that, it is the responsibility of the association. The Ministry of Tourism puts together an event calendar, but those regattas don't necessarily or technically fall under the Ministry of Tourism.
Another thing for me is the event calendar that the ministry puts out. They really try to have like it lined up for 2019, 2020 or whatever. But the issue is some of the associations don't have concrete dates. So it's always like 2 PBA and we're like, okay, so when is it? And then it's like, oh no, we're not having it this year. Of course, these are like the smaller ones, but sometimes the associations that put them on, they just don't really have a concrete date. So it's kind of hard to push because we like to include it on our calendar for my Out Islands. But it's hard because I would go through and it would be like maybe 5 or 6 that I don't have a confirmed date on. And I'd reach out to the people and they'd be like, hey, it's supposed to be like the second Monday. And I'd be like, well, I can't really, are you sure? So it's a little both, because the Ministry of Tourism has done a great job of listing these dates. As soon as they get them, usually I get something yearly that has all the dates there. But you would still see a few TBDs, and it's just like, okay, I can't push it if I don't know when.
Got you.
Yes, our cultural and events department they do their best. Thanks for that shout out for them, L'Oreal. They work so hard.
They do. And
it's not an easy job.
Man, they really work hard.
It is. And sometimes if you have an event organizer who wants to have an event, they would reach out to us and try and get listed on Bahamas.com. So we would then get our events department involved in making sure that it's something that we want to partner with them on. And then once that's established, then we would create a listing for them on our website. So we have a whole section where we have all of the events listed throughout the year. You know, I think once you go to Bahamas.com/events, everything is there.
Yeah.
For you to access. Yeah.
Fair enough. That's good. That's good to know. Because one of the things I think would be cool would be to do a regatta hop for a year. Just try to go to every regatta. You know, if there's one in January, February, March, however, I would just
yourself a liver every time.
That would be good.
You need
your liver might not make it, but it'd be a good trip. Have you guys found that a lot of Bahamians art, well, I guess not taking because of the pandemic, but prior to, have a lot of Bahamians been taking advantage of the 2 Fly Free program?
My baby. Okay, yeah. So when we first started, at least when I took over it maybe about 5 years ago, we had maybe like 90 bookings, which was nothing. We're up to a couple thousand now, pre-COVID. Wow. Yeah. So
awesome.
Pick up yourself, but that's awesome, yeah.
The issue I still find, though, is the average Bahamian is super skeptical. They're like,
skeptical about what? Like what?
In their hair, it's still a very expensive thing.
You know, it's like, I don't know. But another thing is what kind of saddens me is there's a disconnect of what some Bahamians expect and the price that they have to pay. I find myself reminding people, like, hey, you're not going to Miami. This is not Miami where you could get like $100 flat rate night with, you know, whatever you want. I've actually had someone tell me that they want to spend $100 for the room along with a rental car and a meal each day. And I was like,
no.
What?
I know. I was flabbergasted. I was like, you can't even get that in Miami. So
you need to drop them off on the eastern end of Rose Island with a tent, kayak, and one golf cart, and be like, boom, there you go, $100, just stay there.
The program, especially this year, before we had a super lockdown, I found that we were on track to break our record from last year, which was amazing. But thanks COVID, because now that won't happen. But
not yet. It will happen, just not this year.
It will happen. It will happen.
You know, I've tried very hard to always plug BahamasResidence.com so people can see the different special offers that my hotels do offer, and they really do try to give competitive rates. You know, a lot of people have airport transfers, because if you don't know, like if you're going to Cat Island and you're up in Office Town, but your hotel in New Bight, that's a pretty far
that's a drive.
You know,
that's a drive.
Pretty far drive. But we have some hotels that understood this and was like, hey, we'll throw in your airport transfers. They'll assist you in getting car rentals. What I find about Family Island hospitality, it's really like you're going to your uncle or your granddaddy, and they really do help. So it's a very special brand of hospitality that I find Bahamians you're really trying to get into now, and I'm happy that people are now aware of the 2 Fly Free offer. You know, we've actually had a few companies partner with us now to get the message out. So, you know, bit by bit, you know, my baby is coming up, is really doing well, and you know, we really want to encourage more domestic travel. Like, if anyone knows me personally, I love going to the Family Islands. Like, I was supposed to go in Cat Island August Monday, but we was on lockdown, so I couldn't go nowhere. I was very sad. I was ready to go stargazing on Como Hill, you know, and just disconnect for a bit. But I
would not go anywhere near Como Hill in the nighttime. What is your problem?
What?
It's creepy in the day.
Okay. I don't get it. I love it. Okay, I love it.
In that instance, I'm gonna be Rissie. I ain't getting everything cool. Y'all miss me with that. I can sit in the car with the AC on and I can chill out.
You could be fine. But no, man, it's we came up with a tagline maybe about 5 years ago saying 84% of the Bahamas, 100% unspoiled, calling the Family Islands.
That's pretty
internationally. I tried to twist it locally because as a Bahamian, if you haven't visited 80% of your country, not everyone's going to get the whole 100, you know, but there's so much to explore. So it gives like a kind of mental comparison to really say, okay, I've only been going to living in New Providence and going to Grand Bahama every now and again. You know, maybe I should try this year and take my family, you know? So each year we try to push it a little more. We have a lot of partners. We did something with Latoya Laughs and with Soya Boy this year. So, you know, bit by bit.
And Lenny Kravitz.
And Lenny Kravitz, yes. That's international though. That's international. He's talking about, well, he does have the Luther thing. That's Ministry of Tourism. I can't touch that. Although I love that video. So bit by bit, I feel, especially, I actually think one of the gifts of COVID was that Bahamians start to look inward in vacationing within their own country. So I hope that trend continues after we're back to the new normal. Because I mean, we have people, let's save up 2-3 years just to visit here, okay? You could hop over to the island every now and again to check out what gets people going crazy.
Yeah, we had an interview with our Director General for Tourism Today segment to promote the To Fly Free. And one of the points that she tried to drive home was that, you know, you have these people who are traveling from all over the world and coming to our country every single year. And now with the To Fly for Free and domestic travel in general was your opportunity to find out what it is that these people love so much about our country.
Mm-hmm. They love it, okay?
Yeah, they do.
I haven't myself taken advantage of it yet, but I had planned to, and then these stupid emergency orders just ruined everything. That was going to be a really pleasant escape, actually. So I need the competent authority to change some things, and let's get back to the program. Aren't you guys tired of being stuck, or is it just me?
Oh no, I'm going out of my mind actually. Yeah. I haven't traveled since March, and like.
Wow.
Yeah, I came back from Budapest the week before we went into lockdown. Like, imagine that. It was just, it's like something amazing happens, and then immediately after something terrible happens. It's just not, it's not fun. It took all the fun out of the trip. Just like, damn, can't go anywhere now. This sucks.
Hopefully soon we'll be able to travel. Hopefully.
I don't know. I think that's gonna become a part of the new orders probably sooner rather than later. It's not going to be long before somebody finally says, "Listen, if I don't get off the side, I'm going to go nuts." Like, you know the Rodney Monker video. I am losing it. Like, I think that represents a lot of people's mental state right now.
I mean, you could still travel.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You could still travel.
But
it's just go. I mean, that little 14-day quarantine might you up. But,
yeah, that's a problem, because the regs specifically say, like, you have to quarantine for 14 days, which, I mean, if you're the kind of person who doesn't need to leave a resort to go anywhere, or like you stay somewhere all inclusive, which we're going to come back to that, but you stay somewhere all inclusive, then I mean, you're fine. But who's going to book a 3-week stay to go to Eleuthera, to stay in one place for 2 weeks, to go explore for a week, to go back home?
Right.
There might be people. Maybe that's you at L'Oreal.
It might. I mean, I would do it.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I promise. I get it.
I certainly would do it though. Yeah. For real. So, before we come to all inclusives, what was I going to ask? Maybe you don't know or don't know the answers. I don't think this has much to do with what you guys do. I'm just curious. Do you ever see the Bahamas having a third airline that sort of services other islands outside of where Western Air and Bahamas Air fly? Like, how necessary is that, do you think?
You're talking about a local carrier, or
So we have Bahamas Air, you have Western Air,
right.
Used to have Sky Bahamas, and then you have Pineapple Air, etc. But as a collective, other than Bahamas Air, they all sort of fly the same routes. I guess this is more tied into the accessibility thing. Do you think that we will ever see a time when that demand would turn into, like, we have Mayaguana Air. I keep coming back to Mayaguana because I really want to go there. We have Mayaguana Air, Ackland's Air, like that kind of vibe.
Mayaguana Air? I don't see that happening.
No.
I don't see that right now.
Yeah,
but that's just personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
that's an interesting one.
Maybe there will be an airline that eventually takes them in out. Maybe.
You're kind of frozen, Laurie. I can't really hear you.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, the video caught up. Go ahead. Yeah.
So outside, these aren't local carriers though, but outside of Bahamas Air, Western Air, you also have Flamingo Air that goes specifically to Mangrove Key, and Lee Air. Like, not every airline does every route. It's not really feasible. But where Bahamas Air doesn't have routes, you do have smaller airlines that have picked up the routes. It's just really when you're talking about the South that it gets.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, I think it's what Bahamas Air that does San Salvador, Long Island together.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the South, you know, it's just the demand. I think it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, though.
It is.
So it's like, if is the demand, people will go, but people are going, you know. But there's also some Water Makers Air based out of Florida, and Makers Air and Tropic Air that does some kind of island hopping flights, you know, Berry Islands, Andros, Exuma, Cat Island. Like, that's something that hopefully will increase, because there are some smaller airlines that are interested more in doing scheduled flights now. They've been doing chartered. So, you know, in the future, you might be able to see some consistent air travel for some of the southern islands. I know about Iguana though, right now.
Why are you trying to kill my Iguana dreams right now?
Oh, God. Girl, please let him have Iguana Air. One day, Iguana Air will be right there.
All right, I gotta put that on my like life accomplishment list.
Also, can I just shout out Lee Air real quick, because I really enjoy those flights.
It flies to the Berry Islands.
It's like the Honda of the air. I really enjoy them. I love them.
You shout them out and then compare them to a Honda?
You know, they just be whipping around. I know I can get where I go in a Honda.
You know?
Now I have this vision of this airplane being like having dark tints on it with rims.
It's always an adventure.
It will get you there and on time or before time.
I've never had the privilege of flying them.
Every time.
For most of my island excursions, I will say I tend to fly bonded excursions. Big shout out. That's my best friend's company. So I got the plug.
So go to Iguana.
You know how long that is going to take in that Navajo? That's like a 2-hour flight. Be in the air forever. I gotta wait for Bahamas Air to get better at this.
Okay.
My memory is fairly good, but I might have this wrong. So I distinctly remember that on Paradise Island before Atlantis, that resort was what is it called? Resorts International. I remember that it was not at that point in time all inclusive. I feel like all inclusive resorts found the Bahamas much later in our development. Is that something that's going to continue to happen? Are we going to see more of those? Because I hate all-inclusive resorts. I am not at all a fan. And if I had it my way, I would remove that from the elements of our tourism product. I like boutique. I like places that make you go out and do stuff, because it means you have to go explore, you know, the city, basically. So what's that trend going to be like in terms of how you see resorts developing? Are we going to go more boutique? Is Airbnb going to take over?
I actually just want to jump in on that question, because I think even especially after the pandemic, I apologize for the noise, I think consumer demand is changing. So are people more interested in staying at a hotel and an all-inclusive resort with other people around, or are they more interested in staying at a small villa or a boutique style Airbnb property? So in the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing some research, and I said, well, I wonder which one is going to do better than the other, the traditional hotel or Airbnb. And what was interesting is that the hotels were driving the point that they're saying, we have such high cleaning standards in place compared to Airbnb that may not. But Airbnb started to drive up their game too, and they said, no, we have top quality cleaning standards as well. And even so now, I think the idea of being in your own villa, which is you or your immediate family, rather than having to share a general space, such as a lobby area or an elevator in a traditional hotel with other people, is more, the villas and Airbnb properties are more favorable. And especially when you look at the contributions to the economy as well. These smaller properties are owned by, probably locals. And they're getting a chance to own their share of the tourism economic pie, which is important. So I think we need to see more development in that regard, and also sustainably as well. The type of operations or I guess infrastructure they put up. I'm seeing a lot of green hotels being built, especially in the family islands too. Strong implementation with solar panels and stuff like that, which is important. So I'm seeing a lot of trend in that direction so far.
That's interesting. Either of you want to weigh in on that too?
Just to get on her point about the cleaning. So that has been a point of contention between hoteliers and Airbnb owners. And I mean, understandably so, especially with the increased cost of being on the family islands. What I found is that people still kind of want to identify a hotel, someone with accountability over the Airbnb person. Because when you're going on islands like Cat Island, how exactly is Airbnb going to be able to say without a shadow of a doubt that we know that this person comes in and, cleans and everything every day? It's a little harder. So I found that people were really interested in smaller boutique properties, like you said, that have maybe 4 to 10 villas, very small properties where they know that they're getting turned down service or stuff like that. So bigger hotels, I find that the pro for them is that the consistency of cleanliness, because they have to watch their entire brand, but the downside is all of the people, like really big hotels. Thankfully, on the family islands, we don't have that many that are super big, and even those that are considered big are still relatively small compared to the international.
So, what do you classify a big as a big hotel? Obviously, Atlantis is a big hotel, but what's a big hotel?
In the family islands, Sandals is a big hotel. Sandals Great.
How many rooms is Sandals?
Oh,
that's a great question. I used to know that, L'Oreal. I don't remember.
I need to read my stuff. I feel like it's 300. I feel that in my spirit.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So I guess the benchmark for a big hotel would be maybe 150 rooms.
Yeah, on plus.
Yeah, that's more what I was getting at. Yeah.
Right. Have that. So outside of that, you have the Hilton, and then you have the super luxurious that typically, can have whomever on their private islands. But for the most part, the family islands, we have small hotels, and I find that that's going to be a plus for us moving forward when we get to the new normal. Because I've been saying this when I did interviews for the family islands that, we've been socially distancing from forever. You're not going to be on a crowded beach. You're not going to be in a crowded building. That's one of the pluses of being on, no offense to New Providence and Grand Bahama. I mean, I live here, but I'm saying that it's the new social distance to consistently go to the family islands,
Well, I'd like to chime in and really talk about your disdain for all-inclusive, because the scaries like me like all-inclusive. I don't mind doing a little snorkel on the beach out there. I like knowing that I can go anywhere for dinner at any time and eat as much as I want when I want it. But I think that with all-inclusive, there are certain islands that can handle them. And then there are certain islands that cannot. And for me,
give me an example of one that can and one that can't.
Well, Nassau can handle it. Ragged Island probably can't. That's unfair. I've never been there. Let's not say that. I can't name them. I can't name one of those islands. I can't name it. Okay. So Abaco can handle an all-inclusive. I think so. But what all-inclusives do for me as a person in marketing, they're also marketing that destination. So they're helping to fuel our marketing engine.
Right.
So the destination is being pushed through another, like, let's use the powerhouse, the shoe. I don't want to say any names, but they pump a lot of money into promoting the destination. And so that in turn kind of helps with leveraging direct flights to that island, because there's more of a demand there, because now you're filling those hotel rooms with people.
Understood.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So don't be up in here talking foolishness about my all-inclusives now.
I'm still not sold on it, man. I get it, but for me, what an all-inclusive does from the economic standpoint is it keeps more dollars in the resort and less that flow out into small to medium-sized Bahamian tourist-related businesses. It's it's like what people say about cruise ships. A cruise ship comes in and then people just don't leave like the wharf, for example. They don't tend to really go further. That's probably a bad example on a hotel, but same thing. It's keeping everything in one place. Right. That's really my only qualm. I'm not like hating on all inclusive resorts.
No, that's great. But those guests now are not the guests of yesteryear. Those all-inclusive guests are actually moving off of the property. They still want that authentic experience, but they won't come back here. And I get it. Spend a little couple dollars here, but out in the country, I get it. I get what you're saying, but understand like they also help as well.
And also too,
my job at least.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So I feel like there's a space for both, but I kind of side.
There is a space for both. I agree with that.
Yeah, there definitely is a space. Like you don't want to be overrun with all inclusives, like some other of our Caribbean islands that have just lines of all inclusives where a lot of people don't come off the property. So I don't want it to ever go there. But in the same breath, there are people that love all inclusives. That's one of the questions I get very often when I'm at like a show. It's like, okay, so where are the all inclusives? And I'm just like, you can stay in Nassau for that. You have one or two in the Family Islands. Like Small Hope Bay, believe it or not, in Andros is an all inclusive boutique property. Right. But I would caution that having 5 all-inclusives on one island in the Family Islands, I don't think that's
ridiculous
for the economy. Yeah. Right. So there's space for like 1 or 2, fine. You don't have to be a huge resort to have all-inclusive. You can even have meal plans offered, but I do agree with Nick. I like when people go, check out the restaurant in their fish fry and stuff. But I would say that a lot of these all-inclusives, I mean, they're not that many. They also do work with local tour
companies.
They're call to action. So if you're interested, the resort will set it up for you and use a local business to facilitate, diving or, swimming with the pigs, or if there's some type of tour. So it's kind of a blend of both.
Exactly. You want to be able to provide something for all types of tourists, as much tourists as you can. So for people like me who like the all-inclusives, and people like y'all who like to go shark diving and stargazing at Como Hill.
And just to tie into that too, I think all-inclusives are really popular with the Canadian market because they really like familiar surroundings and that kind of thing. But it is also an opportunity for all-inclusive hotels to really source their produce, especially in the restaurants, from local farmers and fisher folk in the area and stuff like that, because I mean, I know they'll probably be importing most of their food, but there should be at the policy level some kind of mandate, for them to really work with local farmers so the benefits economically can trickle through the country.
Now that is a suggestion on idea. That I'm with. I think that makes great sense.
It's great that you mentioned that, Kristy, because there are a few properties, not all limited to being all-inclusives, but a few ones that don't have Bahamian owners that I've noticed would have like a local artisan come on property and be allowed to sell their wares, local pepper jelly and stuff like that. So hotels are doing that and trying to trickle down. So it would actually be great, But I find that it happens to some degree, hotels that are really passionate about their community because it makes their product better. They've been putting things in place to allow, locals to be able to get some shine out of the tourists that they have here.
Exactly. And I've seen a lot of Bahamian culture as well being integrated into some properties as well. like in terms of the art that they feature throughout the property, sourced from a local artist, even something like down to like Bahamian ice cream or different flavors. I mean, that's being sold on some properties as well. So it's really
somebody's a fan of Sun and Ice.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to, but go ahead, sure. So, I'm being right. So anyway, but yeah, so a lot of those things, because I mean, today's traveler wants this authentic cultural experience as well. Yes, they want the comfort and the familiarity with the all-inclusive hotel, but they also want to experience to some degree of a Bahamian experience. So I think it's important to really integrate that into the property as well.
Okay, understood. I'm still not shifting from my position.
And that's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. Junkanoo. I've often wondered, I mean, are there any numbers in terms of how many people travel here specifically for Junkanoo parades? I wasn't curious if that's a thing, like how other people will go to Carnival, for example. Like, do people travel here for that? Is that one of the cultural experiences that you see, you might see like an increase in bookings around sort of Boxing Day kind of vibe?
There are numbers that exist. It's just that I am not aware of them at this moment. I apologize.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
I find even it would be kind of hard to differentiate it because of when these parades take place,
Because December's already a busy season.
You have your Christmas and New Year's parade, that already, yeah. So I know with the data that we get, I haven't seen it broken down for cultural events. I mean, obviously there is a peak during that time, but I'm not sure how they would differentiate the numbers, really. Yeah, I'm not sure how they differentiate the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But people do come to Junkanoo. They do. They really do.
I know our visiting journalists and press division within the ministry accommodates guests, bloggers, journalists that are coming in specifically for the parade.
Mm-hmm. And that time is a busy time too, because that's the winter season, so it's peak season for us anyway, when most people are traveling. So I'm sure we have that data, but we would have to dig in deep to get it. Yeah.
Peak season is between which month specifically? That would be like what?
So like November to going on to like I would say February, March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. November to March. Huh, that makes sense. Everybody's flying south for the winter.
It's cold, overseas. So
yeah.
Right.
Trying to duck that nor'easter up in Canada.
Right.
Do you guys think, this is another one I have to ask with some caution. There's a hotel that I'm going to call the Lost City, and then there's another hotel that I'm going to call the Shallow Water. Did we need both of those in Nassau?
Oh boy.
but are both of those in Nassau?
One is on Paradise Island, but not very many people make the distinction. So did we need both of those within a 10-mile radius of each other?
I have no comment.
No comment.
Has the newer of the two properties been contributing much in terms of marketing the Bahamas and driving visitors, or has it been, I guess, negligible given the issues, let's say, that they've had?
Can you repeat the question?
Family Islands. I'm just
has the more recently opened hotel, you mentioned that resorts, in the context of all inclusives, that one thing that they do is they drive the marketing side of things. So have you seen a surge increase, one or two more that are directly or related to that particular resort?
I can say that both of those resorts actually, as we have partnered and traveled around the world to promote the destination, around the world, key markets to promote the destination.
What are the key markets?
Okay.
It depends. Oh, go ahead, Kristy. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, before I answer that question, I just want to say. I mean, we had serious numbers last year. Was it last year? Yeah, it was 7.2 million visits to the Bahamas. Okay.
Total visitors to the Bahamas?
7.2.
Is that a record?
Million.
Right before Dorian, we had that, that was we made history, okay? So I would say that those two resorts did have something to do with that in a way.
Yeah, they all contributed. It was a big, massive effort.
Yes, and to Rissie's point, yes, they did do their own marketing overseas as well, so that definitely helped. Drove the point, but what was your second question again, Nick, about our key markets?
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely USA, Canada, and those are the mainly top, I think, and then Europe as well. But I think we're trying to diversify and go to other markets too, right, Rissie?
Yeah, we were in Mexico. L'Oreal, were you with us in Mexico?
Not in Mexico, unfortunately. You get them close to this side, and I'll just, take them to the family. You do the heavy work now.
I mean, we're expanding into China and to Latin America. So, I mean, we're trying to break into everywhere.
How is it marketing to or rather in a country like China? I mean, they're obviously far. That's a 16-hour flight at the least to get to this side of the world. What's the selling point that makes somebody say, I'm going to jump, or makes a Chinese person, I'm going to jump on this plane to go to the Bahamas?
Well, we were very strategic because when we went to China physically, it was the year of the pig. So we were out there with the little swimming pigs, little stuffed pigs, and
That's fantastic marketing.
Yeah, zooming.
There were visa exemptions for them in certain countries so that they could just leave China, go to this country, and then fly straight to the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm. And also to add to that too, we also reach out to them on their platform. So are you familiar with WeChat? So WeChat,
yeah.
Right. So we have to go in those places that, where they are to really reach them. And so we've been doing some initiatives on that as well. And we continue to just try and branch out wherever they are. We try to be there and get their attention,
Yes. Mm-hmm. Wherever there's an interest, I think that's where we need to be. China, I think I was working with the ministry for only about 4 months. And I was on a plane to China. And that was really cool. And that's where, we were talking about WeChat and becoming a part of that. And I think we even have an agency over in China to help us to get the marketing out there and really connect with that target audience.
That's interesting. Do you tailor your marketing? So I think I can say short stay, long stay guests. That's the thing, right? Like, someone who comes for 2-3 days versus a week or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would the push in a country like China be specifically for long stay periods, and like what
Absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So how do you pitch something like that? Like I'm curious about the mechanics of the marketing. Do you say like, hey, listen, come to the Bahamas, get a room at some place that's really hype, look at this beautiful water.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make that work?
So what we did when we went to China is we took some tour operators with us. We took hotel representatives. So we were responsible for pushing the destination. But in terms of hotel bookings, offers that can be provided, those got a little granular. And so that was left up to however those hoteliers and those tour operators wanted to pitch that. But they did sit down in very intimate settings and talk to bloggers, journalists, reporters, anybody, and just let them know what offers were available for them, what they could take advantage of, when was the best time to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. And I'd also like to add too that it's all about as well understanding what they're interested in terms of the Asian market or Chinese market. I know some of them are not really interested in the beach. So they're more interested. They don't really want to get darker. I mean, when you look at it, they're not into that. So
covered up.
They do cover up a lot. So you have to kind of look at what is in our tourism product here that would match what they want. So they're interested in shopping, luxury items. We have that. all of our all popular name brand things that they're interested in, we can provide that to them in paradise,
right.
you know.
And to piggyback off of that, that's any country that we go in to promote the destination. We have to look at who they are and what they want out of our product.
Right.
So luxury sells to China. That makes sense. It's pretty consistent with what you know. And so when these guys, when I guess this is where Lori would take over. So you get the influx of Chinese tourists they come into Nassau, and you need to get them to the islands on a micro level. How do you manage that? Because I mean, they're already here, so I feel like at least half the work is done. You've already gotten them here.
So the thing is that from what the data I have right now, the Chinese aren't really interested in the family islands. Now they're interested in the swimming pigs, right? Because when you look at the family islands, Rissie even said it, you know, Year of the Pig, that's their thing. When you come to the family islands, it's a lot of beach. It's a lot of outside. You cannot go and buy 5 Rolexes anywhere. So when it comes to what they want and what we can offer as a family island product, it's a little different.
No sweat. Sorry, one sec, Lori. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw a little pop up there, Kristy. Well, thanks for the time that you spent with us. That was very, very informative. I hope to talk to you again about some more tourism related issues soon. If
He's still with us for a bit.
In 10 minutes I have to leave, so I'm just,
No, that's fine. I'm preparing for that eventuality in case you have to
okay.
Snap out of the conversation. But that was very engaging, and I quite enjoyed what you brought to the table. We need to get you all who are on the bottom of my screen to go jump in one Blue Hole in Long Island. I know I don't have to ask Lori. Lori will do it. But
I already did it.
Gotta do it
true.
again.
Yeah, you've done it. All right.
Yeah, no, Kristy it's Kristy's turn.
Anyway, carry on, Lori. You were saying.
So what I'm seeing right now, we actually have maybe a trickle of Japanese guests that goes through Pink Holiday. The owner is Japanese, so she handles that directly in managing their groups. But as for the Chinese market, it's not really something that we have the data that would warrant us to really delve into it. It's more one-offs that maybe they're just interested in. The ones I've seen recently is any contact that I have is because they want a swimming pigs tour, you know. Now, conversely, for the Europeans, we actually have something where we understand that once people do a transatlantic trip, it's going to be, you know, heading on the 10 to 14 days or even more. Now, for the family islands, it takes a very specific target audience to want to stay on the islands for 2 weeks. There are people who would stay there for a month if they would. But what we decided to do is we have a dual vacation type of thing. If you're coming over to this side and you want to spend some time in the States, if you fly from Florida for Europeans, we actually have a 2 fly free for them. So for right now, the European is kind of on the outskirts of where we spend our marketing dollars. We haven't seen it enough to be warranted for the Asian market as yet. New Providence would get a big chunk of that because they have what they really are interested in. One day though, there's a little bit of interest, but when you don't have enough translators on islands, you know, it gets a little janky. Typically, the Asian market just wants to go to the swimming pigs, so you know that can be facilitated from Nassau.
Yeah. So when you guys, China was one of those countries where the Chinese people just sort of started traveling when the country opened up, which in terms of history is fairly recently. How then do you identify which countries are going to be the next, I guess, travelers? Like it used to be Germany used to export the largest number of tourists from Europe. Now I don't know who does. I don't know if that's still true. How do you sort of figure that out? Like what goes into that?
So our global marketing team has software, and we have BCO offices scattered throughout Canada and the US that kind of have their feelers out there, and they bring that information, they collate that, and then we start to like work on where that highest demand is, because that would be the lowest hanging fruit.
Okay, got you.
And you tourism line, do they drill that into you? The lowest hanging fruit. I hear that so much. I'm just like, did we all go and have a memo? Was it?
Which one? Lowest hanging fruit?
Yes, that is everywhere. My boss kills that every day. It's the lowest hanging fruit. And let's not reinvent the wheel. That's I hear that.
Yeah. I get let's not reinvent the wheel a lot. Okay, Rissie, calm down.
Yeah.
Do we get a lot of regional tourists? What I mean by regional is, do you find people from the Caribbean come to the Bahamas in the same way that Bahamians will pop over and go to Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, that kind of vibe? Or is that like what I'm trying to ask is, what number does that represent of the total number of people that come in? Like, do we get a lot of regional visitors?
That's actually a great question. I'm going to go on assumption here. And if I'm wrong, if my bosses are watching, please don't kill me. Don't kill me. I think they tend to travel for an event. They're traveling here for something, as opposed to just like, okay, well, let me just hop on a plane and go. So I don't think they represent a large percentage of our incoming tourists.
Yeah, no.
And I think too, some of the, like a lot of them probably come on cruise ships as well. Like I think they would go as a part of, I guess the Bahamas is a part of their itinerary. So they would probably stop over there and go to the other islands or countries on their list. But in terms of actual stopover, I can't remember the exact number. But like Rissie said, I think it's more for an event than anything. Yeah.
I think for me,
And you are frozen.
Oh wow.
All right.
But I'm going off of like.
You have to say that again? You have to say that again because you were frozen for a sec.
Oh, I was? I did see it. It says my internet was unstable. I'm sorry about it. So I was saying that I've seen more regional tourists here during Carnival than any other time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I guess that wouldn't be a big target market for us in any event.
Yeah, not a large one.
Fair enough. So then, other than Mexico, what other sort of jurisdictions are we targeting? Like, who else? Is Latin America the next big boom market, do you think?
Well, we have a whole Latin America department. So yeah, we in there. We sure do.
Oh, no kid. Okay, cool. So what, you hit
they out there speaking Spanish? I see them, I'm like, hola.
You mean that you have a department here, or do we have tourism offices in South America?
We have locally, we have a department that caters to Latin America.
Okay, cool. And has that influx mostly been from Brazil, I would imagine?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Well, fair enough.
Shaming myself.
No, not at all. If you don't,
sorry about that. Sorry.
One of the things about human beings is we can say anything else except I don't know. How many times has someone asked you for directions and you've been like, go walk up the block, turn left, and third building on the right, but you actually have no clue what you're telling them.
And see, my thing is like tourism is such a sensitive subject right now. I don't want to say anything that will be misleading or, just dead wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
So my final answer is just like, I really don't know.
Yeah, I think that's...
Actually, you want me to ask my boss? Because I could just message her real quick.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on. I'll just go get them.
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting plot twist. You were saying something, Kristy?
I'm so sorry, but I have to leave the call now. So yeah, no problem. It's been an honor to talk with all of you. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for me, please email me at kmorris@bahamas.com. And lastly, I just want to mention anyone watching, definitely use Bahamas.com for anything you want related to tourism, because it's such a vast amount of information is there. So definitely want to push it as much as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you so much for having me. It's been great talking to you all.
Thanks for being here, Kristy. Take it easy.
No problem. Bye.
Lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
We were talking about Latin America.
Latin America, Brazil, and then you were checking in on a thing, so I was supposed to move on. I'm going to let you handle that for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and start pressing Lori about things to do with the Family Islands. I have a couple questions about some places that I have heard of, but I have never visited, in terms of how they fit into our, I guess, out island, the out island tourism offerings. Bear in mind, I only have knowledge of like how hotels operate from the legal standpoint, not necessarily what we may or may not call something that's marketable. So there's a place over yonder key. How do places like that fit into our sort of tourism product?
Woo! Over yonder in Exuma. Okay, so before I go on, that type of tourism.
And you're first.
But they are.
Lori,
they
do you need me to start again? Because you froze for a quick minute.
Okay, so I was saying over yonder key, that wouldn't be something under my purview, although it is in the Family Islands, because it's just such a vastly different product. Okay, so that would be more of the luxury Bahamas. And with that being said, it's funny that you mentioned this. We were, I was in a meeting with someone trying to curate truly luxury Bahamian places to stay in the Bahamas. So there are things here that are super luxury. They don't even have a marketing push per se from the Bahamas, but they have their own niche marketing. So they show up for people who are about to spend maybe, I believe over yonder is what, 500K a week, I believe.
I'm not entirely certain. I've seen one villa advertised, and it was something like, I think it was $95,000 for the week,
so
fully
catered.
Oh, the entire island is like $500,000, but just for that one villa was like 95K.
That kind of product has a place, but the proper creation and listing of them is a little janky. So you don't have traditional marketing like how you would see banner ads for certain things. That's not how you would find out about over yonder key. Okay, you would go. Someone is going to tell you about over yonder key, or it's going to be in your own little niche of people that can afford that would be kind of popped up into, so I wish I knew more about how they push, but unfortunately I do not. Outside of their wonderful website that gives all of the things that you can do, I'm not sure how they push to their market.
I'm sorry if I can interject really quickly. I got the answer.
Go ahead.
And you were right, Nick. It is Brazil.
Ah, okay, great. I like being right.
You're good. You should be in tourism.
I know, right?
If you guys want to hire me, I'm down. Why not?
Yeah.
So okay, I guess the answer that you gave about over yonder key would apply to places like, is it Musha Key? So that sort of same framework applies. Like, that's not someplace you would market because it's luxury and sort of on its own.
It's more about travel planners are a big thing now, right? And like I said, there was a point where we were trying to really understand the luxury items within the Bahamas. What happened is that we, at least from the out islands, if we do have a request on, super luxury items within the Family Islands, locally, like the Ministry of Tourism offices on these islands, so the ones in Exuma, would have a good understanding or a listing of the different types of luxury products there. So, but I still feel, my internet connection is unstable. Can you still hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, we can hear you with the video first, but it's fine. Karen.
Okay. It's more, I find that our luxury or our ultra luxury product, it isn't really curated to how properties in New Province or Abaco, depending on what you want, is. So the product is available. It's just, do I have a cohesive list of all of the ultra luxurious properties within the Bahamas? Outside of maybe if they're licensed as a hotel using the Tourism Today hotel guide, no. There's still a little, disconnect of how that can be marketed, but the owners, and they have a way to market to their niche client, and it's working for them.
And their marketing is super, super targeted.
Yes, super.
Super targeted.
I'd never.
That's why you don't just see over yonder key ads popping up, on Google.
Yeah, you
right, and that's why you won't see Musha key either.
Yeah.
You definitely won't see that.
So, what part of can you break down visitors to the Bahamas into categories? Like what would you call them? What I'm trying to build up to is there's category A, category B, and then there's luxury, and then I want to hit luxury. But how do you categorize them if you can?
So you have your stopover visitors, you have your cruise visitors. I don't want to shame myself. We edited it.
So you have stopover, you have cruise visitors.
So you have your long-term visitors then these are people that stay over for X amount of days. And then you have your cruise visitors that are staying here for X amount of hours.
Okay, no, I get that. But let me refine the question. What I'm asking is, a place like Dubai, for example, is marketing to a specific type of tourist. They're looking for somebody that's coming there for that luxury Burj Al Khalifa, whatever experience, and you're riding a Rolls Royce from the airport, that kind of vibe. So I would say that you call those people luxury tourists. And I was asking, what other categories do you guys sort of see, deal with, target, that kind of thing?
Okay, well, from my understanding, I think what we would do is kind of segment trip purpose more than anything, because how the funnel really works now is that Ministry of Tourism kind of gets a general interest in, they're appealing to everyone, whether it's more of the inspiration. And for the tourism boards, we drill that down a little bit for destination. But I believe, depending on the type of visitor a hotel wants, they would be the point that would, push their luxury items to a particular set. They will push their adventure packages to a particular set. So where we have those who just want to come here for a beach vacation, then you have a certain niche market that is dedicated to divers only. You have that is dedicated to fly fishers only. So the segmentation when it comes to the amount of money, I guess, that could possibly be spent, I don't see that being segmented like that for the upper funnel. You do have that information, but I find when it comes to really drilling down the type of visitor, it kind of comes off, at least on my end, from the property standpoint and how they position themselves in those markets.
So basically, y'all bring them, and then you guys bring them in, and then everybody else has to figure out how we're going to get them to come and do.
Because the Ministry of Tourism does an amazing inspiration job. Okay, let me tell you. I remember I walked on a plane in Missouri one day, and I had my uniform shirt on, and this person was like, "Hey, oh my gosh, you're from the Bahamas, right?" And I was like, "Whoa!" Yeah.
In Missouri.
In Missouri, it was random. I was huffing and puffing. I almost missed my flight, and this guy is just, amazed. But the logo was so recognizable. It's because the Ministry of Tourism does a great job in putting themselves in front of everyone. They can inspire someone to come down for spring break, all in one commercial set, to come down for spring break, someone, the junglist, someone to come and have a private island excursion. It's so varied how their inspiration is put, but because of the great visuals, it appeals to everyone. It's just now for, like you said, on a more granular level, where to stay. Then it becomes, more of the hotels, and even their interest in searching, that plays a big part of it.
Yes, just to piggyback off of that, which I've been doing all day, our global marketing team and our director general, they're powerhouses. They're powerhouses. Yeah. And I mean, they've taken a deep dive into the vertical markets for all over the world, and just that's how they target. What am I talking about? Sorry, that's how they inspire so many people to come down into the country to stock. That's probably right off. and they do an amazing job. And you're right. And I don't know if you guys have seen the buses in London. Do you guys remember that in Europe that were wrapped? And it was so beautiful. And then you have all these people in the BTO offices throughout the world that take a look, they're out in the field and they can see where those opportunities are and capitalize on them. So the people's money ain't going to waste.
Maybe not in your ministry or department.
That's a different story. I can always talk about my ministry. Your money is not going to waste.
I feel you. It's good. It's good for people to know that. Do you then? I suppose this question is not that contentious. Actually, it might be. But anyway, I have wondered for a while whether the MOT takes any sort of steps to assist or encourage small tourism-related businesses. That's very vague. So I'll give you an example. There's a company that I know about called Explore the Bahamas that does a fantastic job marketing beachfront properties as a part of their portfolio.
Whoa, really? I've never heard of them.
Really? We got to get you up on game. ExploreTheBahamas.com.
I'm kidding.
So, yeah, in that vein. So one of the things that particular company is doing is we're really trying to target the luxury visitors, the people that are willing to drop $35,000-$40,000 on a vacation, but that vacation is going to come with everything that they need. Is that one of those things that you guys specifically push for, or is that one of those I have money so I'm going to the Bahamas anyway that just kind of falls, into your lap? Like how does that work typically?
So we have a tourism development corporation that would probably assist with businesses similar to that one to develop that. That's the long and short of it. Run by Miss Janet Johnson.
And very good. And the Bahamas having, I guess, previously been known as like a playground for the rich. I mean, in my view, it still is. You can't be broke and come here to play around. That's just not. It's not one of those things doable. But in terms of being a playground for the rich, is that still a thing, or are we more of a destination for all, so to speak?
I'd like to think that we're a destination for all. I mean, we can find something for everyone to do, but is it still a playground for the rich? Absolutely. I mean, Mushiki is still up there and running. You know what I mean? All these big celebrities that own private islands throughout the entire country.
Well, I'm less concerned.
Rich, and we're for the working middle class, upper working middle class. Because it's not cheap to come here.
No, it's not.
It ain't cheap to come here, and it ain't cheap to come to a destination like this, and it's not cheap to go out to the family islands as well.
Which is my point. But I'm less concerned about people that are on the level of buying their own island, and more concerned about people who are just wealthy that come here to visit. How does our luxury product compare to other jurisdictions? Where do we fall?
That's a good question. I feel like we fall somewhere between. Well, I don't want to say Dubai because maybe that's running out. What do you think?
maybe I don't know.
Might be running out.
Tell me.
Wow, I think we're between. If I had to choose like celebrities, no, but see, this celebrity also can buy their own island. I don't know where we fall exactly, but I know we're sitting in a very comfortable position wherever that position is on scale. The tourists that we have coming in here, we have such a wide range, and they keep coming back every single year. If that makes any sense to you.
No, it makes sense. It means that whatever they found here, they enjoy, so they keep coming back for it.
Exactly. I don't know where we fall, to be honest with you. I don't know where we fall in terms of a luxury product. That's something that I'm not very much privy to on my end and what I do. But they are here and they keep coming back. So we're obviously doing something very right. Well,
we have a fair amount of luxury brands in terms of hotel brands in the Bahamas, right? We have a Four Seasons, you got Rosewood. So I mean, that element of tourism. What were you about to say?
I think we have affordable luxury here, and for those that prefer something that's a little bit more above that, it can be provided for them.
Fair enough.
In places like Bahamas, Atlantis.
Now, call names all of a sudden.
Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting you don't edit these. Beyond me.
No edits. We're gonna hear Winnie barking in the background. Lori, I guess my last question for you is gonna be, if you had to put your finger on, which island would probably be the next go-to island, where would you say? Like, if using your vision, you're looking at this island, you're saying, yeah, people are going to start going here more, and this is why. I don't need the qualifier. I'm just curious as to where you think it's going to be.
He's really trying to like.
It's outside of our main three then.
It's outside of.
I kind of want to say Andros. I know. I was thinking about maybe Long Island, but there's still some airlift issues there. Andros has maybe about 2 airlines that come to them directly from Florida. There was a new property that was opened down there, which was beautiful. They do have some luxury products there. You have your Kamalami, Tiamo. So I would really say that Andros is kind of like a quiet beast. A lot of Bahamians always say, no, but Andros has...
Because it's your favorite. This is unbiased.
My absolute favorite is actually Cat Island. My absolute favorite island is Cat Island. But Andros you have Tropic and Makers Air that are doing flights there. And I mean, going even down to South Andros, you have consistent airlift from Nassau. You have super luxury like Kamalami, but then you also have something that's pretty chill, just a nice place to go, like Dream Villas. So there are a lot of properties that are in Andros, and because of their direct access and that authentic Bahamian experience that you tend to get there, not saying you don't get that from other islands, it's just, Andros, they go big when they come to their culture. You see Tehran will have you all about, I mean, he's not Androsian, but living there, Andros, I just really think Andros is like right on the heels to some. I think it can be really big, especially with the new property there. That place is gorgeous, and it's going to attract more like how Kamalami attracts their guests. So I find there's going to be a little uptick for Andros.
All right, Andros.
Is this Sarulamar?
Yes,
the new one? Yeah, beautiful.
What's it called?
Sarulamar.
Sarulamar.
Aerula, yeah, Mar. Gorgeous property. And they're prepared. They have like options for full hotel buyouts. It's gorgeous. So I find there's going to be a significant upkick when we get back to that new normal. Andros isn't coming to play.
I have never heard of this place. Is that because I'm not in the know, or because they market so specifically that I'm not within the price bracket?
Well, if you follow the Tourism Today Facebook page and YouTube pages, there was a feature on them done earlier this year.
I don't use Facebook. Good plug. Okay.
Girls on Zednest, so girls on the news.
I'm 32. What 32-year-old watches ZNS, man?
Someone sent me a link for ZNS today, and I was like, what? Why?
ZNS, come on.
Oh, man.
Is it you? You're that person. You're the one person that still watches ZNS. Anyhow, I don't have any more questions that come to mind. I think I've probed and gone far enough in this discussion. Do you guys have anything else you want to add? Any shameless plugs you want to make, or plugs don't have to be shameless.
Absolutely shameless. When we get back to the new normal, definitely go and take advantage of the 2-fly free offer and go to bahamasresidence.com. You'll be able to see all of the hotels that I represent. There are special offers. If you're not sure which airline to take, we have a how to get there, because, you know, I don't know if y'all know, Lee Air only goes to some islands and Flamingo Air only goes to some islands. But definitely visit your islands, you know, take a staycation in your backyard and experience why it's so sought after worldwide.
Hey, I'm with that.
My shameless plug is to follow Tourism Today on all of our channels, www.tourismtoday.com, Tourism Today on YouTube, Tourism Today on Facebook, Tourism Today on Instagram, Tourism Today on Twitter. And check us out at 7:30 during the news, and it airs again during the 11 o'clock segment.
Make sure come and visit the Bahamas. We're open for business. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, ladies. It was a pleasure having a chat with you. And I will make sure that your wine delivery arrives as soon as it can. You and these facial expressions got stuck.
I've really been working on it. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know. I can't help it. I'm working on it.
I feel like you haven't been working that hard.
I mean, I feel like my facial expressions are the physical evidence of my authenticity. This is how I really feel about some stuff.
Say?
Yeah.
It was a pleasure. Yes. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys. Take it easy. Peace out.
See ya.
Well, Muddafork.
It would have been cool if we could have all said that.
There's no reason that we still can't.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Is it countdown?
Okay.
Should we do it at the same time?
Yeah. Should we count it down? Who's going to count it down? Someone count it down.
I'll count it down.
You're the ring.
Count it down. In 3, 2, 1. Wow.
Muddafork.
Okay, it didn't work. I think we should do it one by
failed,
one.
but whatever. It was a good attempt.
I mean, it's a Zoom thing. I don't think we could have done it all at the same time anyway.
No, when we can get back to doing it in person, then I think it'll be much more effective.